Top five, top five, top five.
So then topical back with another video. This is a clip out of our podcast, not topical. It's not a podcast. I don't know how to put things on podcast. Maybe I'll learn. Who knows? Probably not. But in honor of Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever coming out, we're celebrating life on the channel. So we're looking back at his movies and doing our top 5. In honor of his performance as Black Panther. Since the sequel is coming out, we talked about comic book movies enough. We did that today. Today's Sunday. We're filming on Sunday, but the video's up now about the MCU sequels. So we're talking about him and his life and his career. So he'll tell you about the top 5 and how we do it, and then I'll jump in and start.
He's going to start with his 5 and 4. I'll give my 5 and 4, 3-2, 3-2. Then we trade off number 1s. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means if we both have the same movie on our list, but one person has it 2 spots or higher, we only talk about it once.
Number 5 for me. Well, it's actually not 5. It's 42.
That's your number 5?
Yes.
Zemeckis.
Inconceivable. See, now, like, he done passed away. Now I look bad because I hard take disagree with that. I don't think it's a hard take. I disagree with that so fucking much. Get up on it. James Brown biopic's my number 4 because this is the one you haven't seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen 21 Bridges, so I guess that must be yours. Spoiler alert. I grew up on James Brown music. Mama Wang, love James Brown, very charismatic. Watch that mugshot. That's what I think of when I think of this movie because it starts off
James Brown,
where he's got the shotgun in the place shooting and the craziness that was.
Yeah,
and his life story, very good life story, very good plot. The acting is great because you gotta be this fucking Energizer bunny of a man.
Mm-hmm.
And the sweating, and you gotta make sure the wig looks right, and the clothes and everything. You gotta actually wear that. Make sure the clothes don't wear you. Chadwick nails all that. The story just doesn't balances enough on the conflicts of his life because he doesn't really have conflicts in his life. He has problems, but he wasn't like a very emotionally healthy man and just, hey, I need to stop and deal with this. Who gives a fuck? Move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Now you're in jail because you were shooting a shotgun inside of a fucking office building that you own. So, the story, like, if you're going to make a biopic about someone, would not have been my first choice.
Sure.
But...
What would have been?
What would have been?
Yeah.
Groucho Marx.
Huh. Okay.
You ever heard about that?
No.
His fucking wife, like... Because he always married younger, because he was a dog. So his wife's like 30 years younger than he is. He's like 80. And like she like kept him in the house, wouldn't let his kids see him, and took all his fucking money.
Huh.
Craziness.
Gold digger.
One of the greatest comedians of all time got fucking shafted like that. Anyways, that's my number 4.
Sorry, I was thinking about Groucho Marx. Yeah, my number 5 is 21 Bridges. Yeah, it's like an interesting concept.
What does he play in that movie?
That would never happen.
What does he play in that movie?
Like, what is a character?
Yeah,
he's a cop.
Wow.
Yeah, I hate you.
I found that clip.
But anyways, I always found this role to be really interesting because this movie came out kind of like peak, like hate cop times.
Black and Blue did too. I remember that came out the same year. So
yeah, and then Body Cam came out too. Do you remember that? That looked terrible. No, Black and Blue did not look good either. But it's like, Black and Blue, who was in that? Exactly. Right? This is Chadwick Boseman, and he's in a movie about hunting down a cop killer.
The Russo brothers did that too, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, a movie that came out at a time where it was like not trendy. So I just kind of like always thought that was really interesting that he chose to do this role. He's really good in it. He's doing Chadwick Boseman things. The movie itself, a little choppy. It got Russo'd up a little bit in like a bad way. Obviously, they have done some incredible things. But yeah, really interesting concept. Decently well-made movie.
Would you say they made a good movie outside of the MCU?
The Russos? I'd have to pull their IMDb up. I don't know if I'm.
Because The Gray Man was not it.
Yeah, The Gray Man was definitely not it. And then number 4 for me. Wait, this is interesting for me. So number 4 for me is just Black Panther. Period.
Number 4?
Yeah.
Zemeckis.
Yeah. See, that doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess we'll talk about it a little bit.
We'll talk about it. Number 3 for me is The Five Bloods.
That is my number 2.
To me, this is one of those performances that I feel like if it wasn't on Netflix, it would get talked about more. Because you got a Spike Lee directed movie, and you got Chadwick Boseman. I'm never going to get that right. Chadwick Boseman in this movie for 10 to 15 minutes.
Maybe total, yeah. Flashbacks and
taking
stuff.
Every scene and making it his.
Mm-hmm.
The charisma, how he felt like he was from that era and everything, just stole every scene to the point where it was like, go back to him. Yeah. First time I watched that movie, I was like, I don't give a fuck these motherfuckers shooting in a temple. Go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that. And I think it would be up there with those movies like Beetlejuice, Silence of the Lambs, where it's like that character took every second of their short runtime they had on screen and absolutely killed it. Made it their own, etc. So because of that, having the best scene, the best part of that movie being every part with him, was my number 3.
Yeah, like I said, it's my number 2. I totally get, like, he doesn't have a ton of screen time in it, but I agree with everything that you said. And I'm not sure if this is, like, I guess it's worth mentioning. This movie did actually get a lot of attention when it came out. It got Oscar nominations. Like, it was...
But it's forgettable on Netflix.
I think it's forgettable, period.
Really?
I didn't like the movie that much. But to your point, so I don't know if this is because I didn't like the rest of the movie that much, or if it's just because he was that good, or maybe it's both. But you made the point of every time that he was on screen, you're like, I want more of that, right? That's how I felt the whole movie. Like we watched the trailer for it. The trailer focused pretty heavily on him. Like, the trailer was like kind of 50-50 on like the flashback stuff and like what it was actually going on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I expected the movie to be, but I could have watched a whole movie of Chadwick Boseman just like leading this group of guys through Vietnam and like figuring stuff out. He is so entertaining to watch in this movie, and because he is like such a showstopper, and because he is the part of that movie that I want more and more of, that's why I made him number 2.
Like, not to as a big extent, because I don't think it's nearly as good, either part, but it reminded me of Godfather Part 2, where it was like, bro, the Nero's flashbacks knocks Pacino's way out the water.
Sure, yeah.
And that's how I felt about this.
Yeah.
That was my number 3. My number 2 was Black Panther. Is it an average role in the MCU? Yes. But the importance of that character and how he fit the role so well and played against Killmonger and the relationships built in that movie, I think just because it's an average MCU performance, which makes it a good performance, I think it deserves number 2 because of the impact of it. Like, not to me or you, but to the black community, this was special to them. And we went to go see it. And I remember we pulled up. I remember like you were I was probably late. So found you in the lobby, whatever. And I was like, bro, one of us said it. I don't remember which one. I remember we took notice and was like, there was more cars out there than there was for that Star Wars movie.
Damn.
That side parking lot of the AMC
Yeah.
was never filled up. It was only filled up for two things:
Mm.
Star Wars and Black Panther.
Yeah.
And that was huge because we went there once a week. We might have been there twice on Friday watching movies back to back, whatever, right? And that theater experience and just seeing, hearing other people talk about it, like, I can never understand the importance that Black Panther had on someone. But when they hear it, it gives me goosebumps for someone talking about how much they loved a movie in cinema. And I can understand that. So to me, the importance factor of this movie is huge. But the performance is not good enough to be my number one, I don't think.
Yeah. I agree with everything you just said. When making my list, I just don't consider like that impact part because I'm just looking at the performance itself. It's not to say it's not important. It's not to say it's not impactful. But like, what kind of acting chops did it take from Chadwick Boseman to do this? And I'm not saying it took zero, because there are plenty of other people you could have put in that role, and it would have just... Let me finish fucking talking. There are plenty of other people you could have put in that role, and it would have been a disaster, is what I was going to say, Mr. Jump the fucking gun.
I jumped it.
Okay. There are, like, you could have switched him and Michael B. Jordan, and I think it would have been just as good. Like, I'm glad they didn't, because if Michael B. Jordan was tied up on that, then we probably wouldn't have gotten Creed. But, yeah, it's really good. He did good. He did exactly what he needs to in that role. He nailed exactly what he was supposed to do to be Black Panther, and I'm glad that his face is on all of it. But I just care more about, like, the specific, like, performance chops that it took to do it than I care about the impact itself.
Okay. And we go talk about this with your number two, I'm assuming. Or number one. Where you got Jackie at?
What's number three?
Number three? Okay. So, I watched 42. And that's my number five. Because I didn't watch 21 Bridges, so it might have been a toss-up. I probably would have went with this anyways.
Yeah. You would have.
But when I watched it, I was like, man, that's a really good Disney movie that just ended on a very unclimactic. Like, the level of tension in this movie is meager because they rely so heavy on racism and that fact for investment. And I'm not saying it's cheap, but it worked very easy. And you didn't have to... I'm glad they did, because it would have been like Remember the Titans. That's what this movie reminds me of.
Yeah,
Remember the Titans.
Yeah, you know, like vibes and stuff like that. I get that.
Very
for sure.
straightforward, in your face. I'm glad they added the bit of tension that Jackie Robertson had in himself, where he felt like he was a pawn, he felt like he was being used, and he didn't see the bigger picture at the time.
Yeah.
Or he didn't want to be taken advantage of. He didn't want to feel like a sucker. However he felt. They didn't describe it that good in the movie. But when they're on the ball field and Harrison Ford's like, hey, you're going to be a Dodger. No, what is it? You're going to play for Montreal. Jackie lights up. He's like, walks to the back, turns around. Ricky, why did you have me? Why'd you bring me up? I like money. Word. And then he gets stomped. He's getting stitches in the back of his leg. That insecurity is still in there, but they don't play it up until then. And then the insecurity hits all at once again. Like, oh, we gotta hit this again. For no, like, there's no build up to it. There's no moment where he's looking around like, why am I here? I felt like until that scene, and he was like, really, why am I here? And he told him the real reason. And it was like, all right, it made this relationship feel more impactful. And then you don't get any more scenes with them together. And it was like, damn, thanks.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that, but all of that is like,
I wanted more.
yeah, but all of that is like script issues, right? So like,
But yeah, but I mean, you take the script and give it to the actors, and they only have so much to work with. So in this case, Jackie Robertson, I'm angry at racism. Jackie Robertson, I'm happy because my wife is having a baby. I'm happy I'm a Dodger. I'm happy. I'm confused about why I'm here. The only real good acting in that movie is the tunnel scene with him and Harrison Ford, and he breaks the bat. Because it shows anger, it shows sadness, it shows insecurity, and then he hits it with a bit of comedy, which fits for the moment. Where he breaks his bat up, he's crying, he's telling Harrison Ford, I feel this way and that way and this way. And Harrison Ford gives a pep talk. You see that show of respect, and he says, Ricky, I need a new bat. It is like, all right, let's get back to baseball, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I think you're missing some of the acting in like the directing and script issues.
Maybe I am. I didn't see it.
So I think he's really good in this movie. I think there's a reason that like, not that I'm a huge fan of them. I used to be a huge fan of them, especially back in my early 20s. I know people are still huge fans of them. But if you go on YouTube and you watch like top 10 of these lists,
Watch Mojo?
from like, yeah, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not just Watch Mojo. Like there's like a ton of best biopics, best performances of biopics. He pops up for his portrayal in Jackie Robinson in a lot of them. Like almost all of them. You don't watch this stuff.
Gross.
You don't watch this
No,
stuff.
I'm not saying. I'm like, that's a bad take on them. They're playing it safe.
I don't think they're playing it safe. I agree with them. As long as it is like...
It was on your top 5 biopics.
Huh?
It was on your top 5 biopics we did a month ago.
Yeah, because it shouldn't be. But I'm not doing top 5 biopics. I'm doing top 5 Chadwick Boseman performances. So, I think he's pretty good in it. This is my number 3.
Oh, light go out. There we go.
But then my number 2 was Defy Blood, so...
My number 1, I'm assuming it's your number 1, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yeah, he's so good in that movie. Yeah.
He puts on a fucking acting clinic. And you have 4 other people in the band? 3 other people in the band? Not including Ma Rainey?
Yeah. Well, so there's the 2 older guys, and then like the one other younger guy.
Okay, so there's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you get 3 relationships you get to play off of where he can be cocky, he can show arrogance. You get the manager where he shows he's a kiss ass a little bit, but he's determined, he has that hunger. And then you have Ma Rainey, which is a totally different relationship and how they act between one another. But that's where the tension lies. It escalates, and that tension overflows to the band. So you get so much acting chops with Chadwick in this performance. And it's also relatable because at one point in everyone's life, there's something they're hungry about, they're passionate about, that they want that fucking bad, that they can relate to him. If you lived enough life. Me, I only had one of those things. You probably have 1 or 2 of those things where you want something so fucking bad and it's right there. And you feel like people are holding you back. And that acting, that I felt that performance when I watched it at the time. And because of that, I think it's its most impactful performance, not including the layers, but how you can feel it off the screen and relate to it.
Yeah. I think he just does an incredible job of conveying like every emotion that he is trying to portray in that movie. And also just like the character itself, like the cockiness, like the headstrongness, but like the insecurity that is very clearly behind it, the something to prove aspect of it, like all of that just oozes out of him. You don't have to guess, you don't have to try to figure out what his intentions are, and not because he's just spelling it out to you with dialogue, because you could just watch the character and it makes perfect sense. And like to your point about the relatability, like I think there is relatability in what he goes through, even getting even more specific, like his whole thing, because we were talking the other day, if we had started this YouTube channel 4 years earlier, probably in a completely different spot. Because,
for sure.
you know, by the time that, like, it really got the ball rolling, very, like, oversaturated market, movies were on the downslope, all that good stuff, blah, blah, blah. His main reason that, like, the dude he's trying to show his music to in the movie doesn't want to do it is because people aren't listening to this anymore. People want, you know, this wholesome gospel shit, blah, blah, blah. And it's like...
Gospel shit.
Yeah, well...
What a way to say it.
I mean, it is what it is.
You get 3 Hail Marys.
Yeah, so it's like, it's not even just like... It's not that he's not talented even. It's just literally like, you just missed... You were born... You were born 5 years too late. You're born 5 years earlier, you have the same talent. Like, you're in. But it's just not how it worked out. And then when the movie hits its climax and like shit hits the fan, like the way he just goes through all the feelings that he's feeling through that as well are just incredible. So that was a good ass movie.
Facts. This another one I wish that Criterion would buy. Something I would love to own. Because I could find it easier on my shelf than I would do on Netflix. But definitely an actor. I think we can both agree on an actor that passed away way too soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so much stuff I would love to see him in. But that's our top 5 Chadwick
Boseman
movies.
Let us know what your top 5 are down in the comment section below. Scroll back up, hit the like button, and subscribe.